All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday Zoom call. My name's Natalie, and Sheridan will be with us in a minute. She's putting her little one down for a nap. We are attempting to start these calls by answering a few questions that we get on Instagram. So first of all, I want to thank everyone who contributed a question. Last week, I thought no one contributed questions because I had the wrong setting on my Instagram. I'm like, no one asked a question. What a bummer. There were lots of questions and we found them right before the call. Today, there were 22 questions, which we love. You're giving me a lot of great ideas for content to create and videos to create for everyone. So that's exciting. One of the big challenges with asking questions in this way is that there is so much nuance when it comes to breastfeeding. So a lot of the questions that were asked were things that both Sheridan and I don't feel comfortable answering without being able to ask a million other questions, like how old is your baby? What is going on? Like all the follow-up questions. So we chose two questions that we felt like we could give good answers for without needing a whole bunch of nuance and without needing to ask the mom a particular set of questions. So that being said, the two questions that we want to address, one question was introducing solids. How do we introduce solids? When do you introduce solids? How do you do that within the context of a breastfeeding relationship? And then the second question that was very, very closely related was, I'm breastfeeding my 17-month-old who has very low food intake. How do I ensure that breastfeeding doesn't interfere with food intake? So I want to spend a little bit of time right now talking about starting solids, food intake, and breastfeeding. So the first thing that I want to tell you is that we as breastfeeding professionals want you to know that there's a lot of incredible resources about food. Feeding Littles is a really great Instagram that Sheridan and I feel like has just good information. And we also want you to know that you may find information that feels very polarizing, like you have to do baby-led weaning, and if you don't, your baby will die. You have to start with purees, and if you don't, your baby will die. And if you don't do all organic, sourced at your local farmer's market, your baby's gonna there's a lot of polarizing stuff out there. So what the stance that Sheridan and I have around food is that there's not one right way to do this. And for every family and for every mom, you might feel differently. You might love baby-led weaning and go, yes, this is great. I want to do baby-led weaning. I get it. I like it. I'm comfortable with it. You might go, nope, no chance. Baby-led weaning scares me. I want to do purees. You might decide that your kid's first food is a French fry, or you might decide that their first food is a vegetable you grew in your backyard. And we want you to know that from a breastfeeding professional standpoint, we care what you do with your babies, but we don't care that much. There's no right or wrong way. You're not going to ruin your child by feeding them a specific way. What we want to encourage you and impart the knowledge that we have is around the breastfeeding part of that. So it is very important to understand that for the first year of a child's life, breast milk is very important. And there is a ton of value. Sometimes people are told at their 6-month pediatrician visit, oh, well, breast milk doesn't have that much nutrients anymore. So you can go ahead and start doing solids and you don't need to worry about breastfeeding. Or, once you're past the age of 1, breast milk really doesn't provide anything for the baby anymore. Those are the myths we want to dispel for you. Those are the things that are not true. Breast milk is the main source of nutrients for a child under the age of 1. So whether you choose to introduce solids as a puree or as baby-led weaning, if you choose to introduce at 6 months, if you choose to wait till 9 months, none of that matters as long as you are continuing to breastfeed your baby. So the amazing thing about breast milk is it is going to adjust to your baby's needs. If your baby is starting to take in some solids and getting little bits of nutrients from those food, your breast milk will adjust to fill in the gaps. But we believe in food is for fun before 1. So if your baby goes a day where they don't want to eat anything and they just want to nurse, fine. If they go a day where they want 3 meals a day and they don't nurse quite as much, fine. We're not overly stressed about what happens with food in the first year. We want it to be enjoyable. We want you to have fun introducing food to your baby. We want babies to feel like they're part of the mealtime. So we introduce solids after 6 months. We kind of do baby-led weaning, usually closer to 7 or 8 months, but our kids are participating in the mealtime. And that's kind of the main goal. It's like when food should be, it's a whole experience. So you're sitting your kid down at the table, maybe you're not even giving them real food. For a long time, we would give Julia just plastic food from my kids' pretend kitchen. So she thought she was eating with us because we wanted her to participate. And we wanted her to sit at the table. We wanted her to experience it, but she wasn't actually eating any food. So meals are a lot more about, in this first year, a lot more about exposure to different things, experimenting with different tastes and textures, throwing stuff on the floor, learning depth perception. Did you know that that's why babies do that? They drop things on the floor over and over and over because they are learning depth perception. How long does it take for something to hit the ground from here? It's really a great skill. So when next time your kid's throwing stuff on the floor and you're feeling irritated, know that they're learning something really great. But we really want in that first year, the pressure to be off about what food you introduce or how much they're eating or when you introduce it, and know that breastfeeding is what's going to stay consistent. How you choose to introduce solids is completely up to you and not super important as far as like developmental. You're not going to miss a window if you don't do food in a certain time. So that's our stance, is we want you to find what's comfortable to you as a family and know that it doesn't matter very much as long as you continue to breastfeed your baby, because that's where they're getting their nutrients. Now, when it comes to, let's say, a 17-month-old who has very low food intake, we for sure have had moms in this group before have babies and children who get past the 1-year mark and are still just not super interested in food. And that is okay. Just like we wouldn't expect every little girl to start her period on the exact same day. The reality is not every baby is ready for solids on the exact same day. And not every baby is developmentally ready to sleep longer or whatever it might be. Developmental things are different with every baby. So some babies may not be super interested in food, even at 12 months, 13, 14, 15 months. And that's okay. The really great part of being in a breastfeeding relationship is that your milk is constantly changing to your baby's needs. So as your baby grows, their saliva changes. Their saliva then is absorbed by your breast and your nipple. So when you're breastfeeding, your body's absorbing their saliva, taking inventory on what it is that they need and creating that for them. So if you've got a quote unquote picky eater, you don't need to worry. You don't need to worry because your body is compensating. You want to make sure you're taking care of yourself, of course, so that you have the reserves to do that. But you don't need to be overly concerned about what your baby's eating, even at 17 months. I also want to kind of address the question of like, how do I make sure that milk isn't interfering with food? So I would challenge you to switch that mindset. The milk is not interfering. We don't want to withhold breast milk so our babies will eat more solids, because if we look at the nutrient value in breast milk versus the nutrient value in solids, breast milk is still better. So we want our babies getting as much breast milk as they will possibly take, and the solids are supplementing in with that. So the solids are adding in. So we don't want to have the mindset of, oh, I've got to cut down my breastfeeding so that my baby gets more food. That's not a healthier option. Breast milk is still the best option. Breast milk still has the most nutrients, of course, the antibodies, all of the things outside of just the actual nutrient value of it. And then the food comes in to add and comes into supplement. So if you've got a baby at 17 months who doesn't need a lot of supplemental food, that's okay. Just keep nursing. Your baby will feel that demand. And some people feel like, oh my gosh, my baby all of a sudden at like 18 months was not satisfied with breastfeeding anymore. We would nurse a lot, but they wanted to eat breakfast and they would sit and they would eat a whole bunch and they wanted to eat lunch and they wanted to eat dinner, and they were clearly their bodies needed more than what they were getting from the milk. So your baby will drive that. And that's what's really great about food, is that if we can just take away the emotion and the drama around food and allow our babies to drive that and lead, we can follow their instincts. And when a baby is hungry and they're not getting enough food or nutrients from our milk, they will eat. And if they're not interested in eating, it's usually because they're getting what they need from the milk, and that's 100% okay. We also will see shifts like this happen when a baby's sick. Like, have any of you had older babies who like get sick and all they want to do is nurse and they don't want to eat anymore? Their body knows, I need this milk. I need this like easily bioavailable. I need all of these antibodies. I need this nutrients, and we just nurse them and it's fine. So, that was a very long answer to a seemingly simple question, but introducing solids how you feel comfortable after 6 months is what we would recommend. And it's Food is for fun before 1. So it does not make a big difference how you choose to do that. And then 17-month-old, keep nursing, keep nursing, keep nursing, keep nursing. Know that food is the supplementary add in. And if your baby's not wanting to eat a lot, I would for sure follow your baby's lead. And also I want to add in one more thing. If your baby's not eating a lot, we also want to take a step back and look at your interactions around food. If you're sitting your child in the high chair and like they're not allowed to get up until they eat more, or you've got a lot of energy around it, like, come on, don't you want to eat? Or you're having to do all the airplane, vroom, 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 open up, come on. Ooh, isn't it so yummy? And you like have a lot of energy around it. Sometimes that in and of itself can make kids go, I'm not interested, not me, don't want to do it. So what we really recommend is put your kid in their high chair, put food in front of them, you provide, and they decide. They decide what goes in their mouth. They decide how much they eat. You provide opportunities for them to eat. So if you're finding that your energy is caught up and my baby doesn't seem to be eating enough, try ignoring them. Try putting them in their chair next to you. You eat your meal while it's still warm, which doesn't happen very much as a mom, and ignore them and let them drive whether they are hungry and whether they want to eat. You provide, they decide. Okay. Jess, can you stop the recording?